Old World, a 4X turn-based strategy game set during the classical Antiquity Age, focused around the Mediterranean and parts of the Middle East. But should you buy it right now? This video will answer all of your questions, starting with a 60-second, too long didn't read overview of the game so you can tap out early if it doesn't appeal to you. Then we'll see what it's like to actually play it, by packing in as much detail about the gameplay as humanly possible, before looking at some more practical considerations and the different types of players this game might appeal to help you decide whether this game is worth your time and money today. If Civilization birthed a rebellious teenager that spent last summer playing Crusader Kings 3, you'd get Old World. You found cities and expand your nation over the course of 200 years, where one turn represents 1 year. You explore the map and improve land tiles around your cities, discovering landmarks, neutral tribes, aggressive barbarians, and you, well, kill them. Internal diplomacy is a huge part of this game, and once borders are established, you commence external diplomatic relations, setting up spy networks, arranging marriages, and there is, of course, all-out war. Yes, this game is very similar to Civilization, and cultivating your dynasty and those around you is like Crusader Kings 3, but it also tries to do everything differently, with mostly elegant and satisfying results. So if you like the sound of fulfilling a set of ambitions laid down by your ancestors, efficiently growing your economy, and trying to out-tech your neighbors while constantly schmoozing your inner circle, Old World might be your cup of tea. If that hasn't put you off, then grab a drink and get comfortable as we look through the detail of what you actually do while playing Old World. There are many different ways to play Old World with highly customizable settings. There's online and offline multiplayer. There are curated scenarios, but most players will spend most of their time playing a 200-turn game against multiple AI-controlled nations. You win the game by having enough victory points, which are obtained from the number of cities you have, how developed those cities are, along with controlling more wonders and holy sites, as well as how many high-level techs you've researched. An alternative to a victory points win is an ambitions win by completing 10 ambitions, which are semi-random and start off very easy but quickly become tough challenges that can steer you down some interesting paths as your game progresses. There are 7 nations to choose from in the base game, with a further 3 added via paid-for DLC: Assyria, Babylonia, Carthage, Egypt, Greece, Hittites, Kush, Persia, Axum, and Rome. You play the game broadly the same with each, with even the same units, but each nation has a set of unique abilities, pagan shrines, and 2 unique units. You can also choose which leader to start with. All of these things mix up the gameplay and encourage a certain style of play. There are many resources in Old World, some tangible like wood or coin, but others are less tangible. The most precious of them all are orders. You can't move every single unit every turn while upgrading all of your cities and running diplomatic missions and sieging an enemy city, unless you have enough orders to do so. You start with a small number of orders, but can increase the number of orders available each turn in many ways. You could simply purchase more, or build certain tile improvements, enact certain laws, even exploring the map to discover landmarks. All of these things slowly increase the number of orders at your disposal per turn. And indeed, the number can go down too. Orders are everything in this game, so increasing your number of orders per turn is a large focus, which can be affected by basically any area of the game, forcing you to think across the spectrum of mechanics. Much of the early game is spent scouting for new city sites, but there's so much more to scouting in Old World, which makes scouts a useful unit throughout the game. They can harvest bonus resources across the map, which regenerate so they can circle back later. Discovering ancient ruins triggers an event which will yield a variety of rewards. Discovering new landmarks gives you +1 legitimacy, which increases the number of orders you can give per turn, amongst other things, and being the first to discover a landmark yields +2 legitimacy, further incentivizing you to explore. High places reveal more tiles, you tend to find more goodies along the coasts and rivers, plus ending your turn in a forest generally makes your scout invisible and therefore safe. So scouting is very much a minigame unto itself, and once the map is explored, you can eventually use scouts to infiltrate cities, which is the first step in setting up your spy network. Legitimacy is important, as it determines your number of orders, but other things too, such as your vassal's opinion of you. You accumulate and lose legitimacy over time, but your character will eventually die, and you'll continue playing as your player heir, who you will have educated and molded over time. Although your heir will inherit a limited amount of legitimacy from the previous ruler, there will be a significant dip, making you vulnerable for a time, until that ruler has had a chance to increase their own legitimacy. In total, there are 10 vassal family types that encourage different playstyles by offering different bonuses. You choose one of 4 families each time you settle a city, up to a maximum of 3 families in each playthrough. Your vassal family choice each time you settle a city is fundamental to the rest of your playthrough, as they yield very different bonuses and require different things to keep them happy. Keeping families happy, family heads in particular, is a complex patchwork of persuasion, gifts, making certain decisions, appointing them to important positions, arranging a marriage into your family, and more. And if you don't keep them happy, these powerful resource bonuses will drop, and the troops fighting under their banner will be less effective. And when it gets real bad, they could instigate a rebellion. But keeping one family happy will often upset another. There are many internal and external characters for you to sway diplomatically. Each character, including your own, has 4 stats that are directly linked to a resource, or if they are a general in charge of a unit, the stats increase something about that unit. Your character's stats can be increased or decreased by thousands of different in-game events, which in turn will directly affect your nation's income. Characters also have up to 3 positive and negative traits that further affect the character's stats and abilities, and there are an absolute ton of these traits. In addition, there are 10 archetypes, which are a powerful influence on your character's stats, as well as your nation as a whole, such as being a builder or commander, a diplomat, etc. And meeting other characters with certain archetypes will affect your relationship with them, as some get on better with others. Ultimately, character development and relationships is a huge area of the game that Old World really leans into, which sets it apart from other similar games that you may have played. The game contains well over 3,000 separate events that can relate to your leader, other characters, families, cities, your nation, other nations, tribes, and religions. The variety of events is mind-boggling, often forcing you to choose between at least 2 options, and often leaves you scratching your beard, whether real or pretend, while deciding which is the best choice to take you forward. The sheer number of events ensures that each playthrough of Old World is far from samey, and some events are linked, so previous decisions can affect future events. There is a huge tech tree in this game, but you can't simply research whichever tech you like. There's a card system where you are presented with a few different techs, and you choose one. The techs you didn't choose go into a discard pile, and won't return until later, once you've gone through all of the initial draw pile. Otherwise, the process of researching the tech tree is pretty standard. Old World has an economy of 2 layers. First, if you build a mine, farm, quarry, or camp, etc., they will generate iron, food, stone, or money, which you spend to build or maintain units and things. Then second, you build a barracks, market, or library to create other intangible resources, such as civics to enact laws, training points to train and upgrade troops, and science for research. Interestingly, while a city is producing, say, a soldier using its training points, that means that city isn't adding any training points to your empire's national pool of training points. Therefore, too many cities using all of their training points to train units means hardly no training points income each turn to use on anything else. There are also luxuries used to boost relations with vassals, rivals, and independent tribes. Most luxuries come from constructing a tile and hiring a specific worker, but some luxuries can be acquired from off the map. Each turn, each city will have increased discontent. This will affect both the output of that city and the opinion that city's family has of you, which comes with its own negative effects. There are many ways to reduce discontent in your cities, such as building something, using the right troops, utilizing religion, and so on. And reduce discontent enough, then you may even end up with some happiness that increases growth and reduces maintenance for that city. Once unlocked, you can establish a spy network and assign agents to other nations' cities, giving you an insight into things such as that city's build order, but also providing you with some income based on your agent's traits. For example, if you feel behind in terms of money, you can assign your agents with the highest discipline stat to whichever city belongs to your opponents that has the highest gold output. Then you'll see a significant boost to your own gold income. This also works for research points, training points, and civics. Your agents can also run certain missions to pester that city by damaging the defenses or inciting rebellion. Building up a large spy network across the old world is serious business for a variety of reasons, but it's all in a day's work for your spy master. At first, this is simple. Your character does everything, mostly making people like you, which you can only do once per individual in your ruler's lifetime, as well as arranging marriages to those in your ruling families and other nations. So in many respects, this element of the game feels like Crusader Kings 3. Once you unlock a certain tech, though, you appoint an ambassador, who is responsible for external diplomacy, and a chancellor for internal diplomacy, who form part of your small council, along with your spouse, heir, and spy master, and who have more options for diplomacy than your ruler does, such as powerful trade missions. Remember that all of these options consume orders. You can't simply do everything you want each turn, so you not only need to weigh up who your leader should improve relations with, but whether that order would be better spent elsewhere entirely. Once you've researched a particular tech, you get to choose between two different mutually exclusive laws. To enact a law requires you to spend the civics resource, and you can go back and reverse your decision later by spending more civics. There are 30 different laws in total to choose from. Generally speaking, each law will enable you to perform an action that you couldn't before, or at least give you a stat boost of some sort. It will also affect the opinion that a group of people have of you, whether that's a particular family or those of a particular religion. So, for example, when you research navigation, you get to choose between colonies and serfdom. With one, you can buy tiles with money, or take a discontent hit in your cities, but get an additional 5 orders per turn. Both are powerful, plus you could choose one and change later. Decisions, decisions. There are 2 types of religions, pagan and world religions. Pagan religions are in the early game and you spread them by building shrines, whereas world religions are later in the game. There are different ways to found these religions, depending on which nation you play as, but once founded, they are yours. Religious buildings, such as monasteries and cathedrals, provide a variety of stat boosts and income. Religion in Old World is rather complex, but is ultimately used for keeping your vassal families happy, as they will adopt a certain religion, and you can eventually get them to switch religions with enough work, and also to reduce discontent more generally. Each religion has a head who will have an opinion of you, which in turn affects the opinion of your vassal families, which affects various things, but generally you want them to have a high opinion of you. So keeping the head of your religion happy is a good way to keep everyone happy. At first, you will have to fight barbarians who are automatically hostile. Potentially, you'll fight independent tribes, and eventually you'll need to fight enemy nations. You can assign generals to units which bring certain skills and abilities to that unit. Units will gain XP over time, or you can pay to upgrade units to further increase and specialize their skill set. Terrain does affect battles, such as cavalry having a bonus against infantry on flat land, but the bonuses are not as prominent as other games. And there isn't much in the way of units counterattacking when attacked, outside of limited circumstances. Defending has plenty of options if you like to turtle, with a defense boost in urban tiles. Units can have their defense stat boosted by the fortification action, and you can further boost tiles by building defensive buildings, such as a garrison and forts. Zone of control does exist, but there are counters to this. Then there are counters to those counters, so it's not as straightforward as other games. The trick with combat is that you will use most, if not all, of your orders on combat, leaving you few or none to do anything else. A juggling act that really isn't present in other 4X games, and really makes you think. After that slightly oversimplified explanation of Old World's gameplay, you should have an idea of what it's like to actually play Old World. So let's move on and address some other more practical considerations that might affect your purchasing decision. As a 4X game, Old World does take time to learn, even if you're used to other 4X games, as it tries to do things differently. There are, however, very good tutorials that allow you to choose between step-by-step instructions or free play with prompts. Nevertheless, it will take at least a few hours for most games to get into the fun part of the game, so please plan accordingly. Old World is only really worth playing if you have at least 2 hours at a time to play the game. Yes, you could theoretically play a few minutes here and there, but you wouldn't be enjoying the game the way it is designed to be played, which will make Old World unsuitable for those without much time to game. Old World offers a variety of ways to play multiplayer, with standard online play against randos, or you can play over cloud so each player can take their time. and there's the classic hot seat option for those that want to play on the same PC. Old World is almost constantly on sale, and recently has seen discounts of 75%, so please don't pay full price for this game. Within a matter of weeks, there will be a significant sale. Old World is a well-fleshed-out game without DLCs. You do not need them. However, there are several DLCs, 3 of which add a new nation. Others add a ton of additional events, and the latest one, Wrath of Gods, adds natural disasters. Each DLC adds something interesting in its own right, and they are all worth purchasing eventually, if you enjoy the base game. But my advice is to ensure you pick up the base game with at least a 75% discount, then pick and choose a DLC later, as the price of the DLCs can add up quickly with minimal discounts available. For those interested in mods, there are an absolute ton that add all sorts to the game, with new highly detailed character portraits, new mechanics, new fighting mechanics, and entirely new empires. Suffice to say that if Old World gets its claws into you, there is plenty of new content to keep you busy. So with all that said, is Old World right for you today? As always, it depends who you are. To address the elephant in the room directly, many fans of the Civilization games, from my experience, love that game so much that no other game can compare. If that is you, then clearly Old World never stood a chance. However, if you enjoy Civ without feeling particularly attached to it, I can almost guarantee that you will love Old World. The game aims to put its own twist on almost every mechanic, and most of the time, it does a very good job in doing so. If you're new to strategy games in general, I wouldn't recommend Old World. It's a slog to learn it all for those who already play strategy games, so someone who is new to the genre should just start elsewhere. As Old World focuses on a specific time period, classical antiquity, if you enjoy that particular era of history, then Old World has a lot to offer you. Even if you are new to strategy games, it will be worth the learning curve, so you can bask in the glory of this era in history. If you enjoy strategy games more broadly, then Old World has a lot to offer you in a different way. The underlying mechanics are rather beautiful, as everything is connected, while not feeling forced. It all makes sense and generally helps to maintain immersion, as the decisions you make to your economy and your military tends to make practical sense from a role-playing point of view. All in all, strategy game players will appreciate the balance that Old World has managed to achieve in this regard. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask, or if you already own the game and have some additional information you'd like to add, please let us all know in the comments below. If you found the video useful, please leave a like for the algorithm gods, and if you enjoy this style of review, consider subscribing for more content. And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!